Hi, I'm John Fagenkrantz. This is Whittington Gallery and Studios, 307 Whittington Avenue. I started this gallery 4 years ago to have a place for artists to show their work, local artists. We have 58 local artists here, and try to make it affordable and just not make a profit, but just break even. I've always been an artist. I retired from my business and decided to start a studio, and one thing led to another. I had so many people coming in looking for a place to show their art that's kind of how it got started. It's doing good. You know, my vision was to start this off and do the improvements as we went along. And when I first bought the building, we had no windows in the front, no doors and stuff. So we've kind of done that. We've got a nice patio in the back. We've kind of done the floors, heating, air conditioning. Every month I try to do another little thing. Everybody loves it because we try to make it a laid back kind of place where it's not pretentious, where people can have fun, enjoy themselves. We had the band playing. It's to let people have fun and chill, you know, and just enjoy the artwork. And we have these local artists that sometimes don't get exposure. The biggest thing for me was the amount of people. I just get people every single day looking for a place to show their art. And you know, we have people that from one level to another level that come here and are looking for a place to show their art. I think there's a lot of people that, like me, that did it when they were kids and they got a job and did their life, and then when they retire, they're looking to regain all that thing that they didn't do. And I think, you know, it's such a big retirement place that all these people are doing the same thing I was doing. I mean, we got a great police, Mary Zunick. She just promotes the living daylights out of this, you know, and it's a great little town. That's what inspired me to do what I do, is the downtown area with the Vapor Valley stuff, man. It just turned me on because where I came from, they tore all the old buildings down and we didn't have that. So I consider this my home now. Well, mine's kind of mixed media, you know. I use markers and paper and paint, and I use whatever I can, but it all has to do with the downtown. It just is such a magical place for me that my little Vapor Valley buildings, they don't look like downtown, they look magical, and that's how I see the downtown. So that was the whole process of doing that was such a magical place, you know. Support the arts. We're trying to make Whittington Avenue a kind of a hip place to go, just like downtown, just like Park Avenue, and you know, that's my goal. If I would have realized what I know now about it, is it helped me relax. And I had my own business, had stresses, and when I could get in there and just do what I'm doing, I don't think about the stresses of the day, I just do my thing, and that's quite enjoyable.
I'm third generation potter. My grandfather started this business, and we moved here in 1956. And we started really doing well, and we had 20 employees and have done pretty good in the pottery realm. And we've evolved into a pretty fancy art type pottery that is highly collectible and has become known worldwide. All of our glazes have been developed in-house by the foundation created with my grandfather's work, and I've built upon that and expanded our color palette, and I'm trying to really mix up all these colors and brighten everything up. For instance, this one would first be thrown on the wheel. It's going to take not very long when you've been throwing on the wheel for 30 years, but it took 30 years to get to the point to where we could throw this on the wheel in 5 minutes. And then we will let it sit for maybe 4 hours, half the day, and then it becomes leather hard. And after that, we're going to incise it and carve into it all the different designs that you see. And after that, we would let it dry for maybe 2 weeks. After it's dry, we'll sponge the pottery with a wet sponge, and it'll take all the hard little pieces off and soften it up. So from there, we'll sign it, put it into the kiln, and then it will fire for first firing for 4 hours. We have to cool it off overnight, and the next day it's able to be glazed. And as soon as it's glazed, you're able to put it in the kiln and fire it up to a little bit over 2100 degrees Fahrenheit. And that takes about 7.5 hours to get up to that temperature. And then after that, if everything goes well, the next day, after it's cooled, we'll open the door and we'll have a wonderful finished piece. This pottery right here has been bisque fired. It's been fired the first time. You're gonna see my large old kiln that I don't use too often. And right here is the one I use regularly. Currently it has some large vases that were just bisque fired last night. Down there I have pottery drying, waiting for the bisque fire. This is my main glazing area. I do lots of spraying. I would take a piece like this and just start applying the glazes. A lot of different ways, depending on how you put the glaze on and which order, you're going to get different results. Thanks for joining me on this tour of my art pottery factory, and I hope you'll come and see me. I'm open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 3, and I'm closed Sundays. Come on by, we're waiting to see you.
Hi, I'm Jim Larkin,
And I'm Barbara Larkin.
and we are the owners and potters here at Fox Pass Pottery.
I do hand building, and mainly I do slab pots. I roll out slabs of clay and then form them to make vases, wall hangings, all sorts of things.
4 different clays and 4 different minerals together to make our clay body. Here's some red clay that we color it with, some talc to help flux it, all these different materials. We do. We just buy them in ton quantities of one of the key ingredients is this fire clay out of Missouri. It's a real tough brick clay for high fire brick. And then some other clays. Each clay adds certain properties that I couldn't get from a single clay. I do mainly wheel work. I could draw with it, I could pattern. In this case, I'm just gonna spread it out here. On my wheel thrown pieces, she will sculpt or carve or decorate. So a lot of times we work together on pieces, or I will throw components for some of her hand-built pieces. I also make our glazes. This is an extremely runny glaze I make from wood ashes from a wood stove, a little red clay and a little lime, an ancient glaze. And it runs, the old timers call it tobacco spit glaze because it looks like tobacco spit running down a spit. It doesn't sound very attractive. When it's all done, this is in a bowl, but it's the same, it'll have the same glaze on it. And you can see some of the dots, these blue dots here will become these black ones, and those combing marks become more subtle. Some of the chatter marks that I made right in there, and the same thing on that bowl. So I make this bowl quite often. Never the two come out the same, but we share different responsibilities in the shop, but then they dovetail together enough that we've been in the same little workshop room for 47 years, so I guess we'll stick it out with our shared duties. Well, we walk out the kitchen door and we're at work, which is good news, bad news. It's so convenient, and I wouldn't want to change it. And a lot of times at 10:30, I can go out and cover something or uncover something right at bedtime, and save myself a lot of time the next day. But also, it's hard to know when to quit work because you're right there.
I hope they enjoy the ambiance we've tried to create in the shop and the studio. Thanks for joining us today. We are Fox Pass Pottery, Jim Larkin and Barbara Larkin. We are located on 379 Fox Pass Cutoff in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And we'd love to see you come out to the store.
We're open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 5.
Hi, my name is Susie Birch, and welcome to Studio 404. I have been in this studio for about 3 years at this point, and this is an old log cabin that was part of the Birchwood Bay cottages from the 40s, 50s, 60s. I do my artwork here, which I'm a mosaic artist, and I do my artwork in this studio, plus I have different shows with artists, and I have my art collection up here also, so I can enjoy art all day long. This is a Mahjong lamp, and it's vintage Mahjong tiles, different china. These are actually from a placemat that I cut apart. They're little bamboo slats. But all these are assemblages from pieces and parts of vintage things that I have found at flea markets, garage sales. This is all Hot Springs. This was part of a Hot Springs show that Laura Bluewater had. So everything on here is Hot Springs and Oak Lawn and all the different activities that we have here in Hot Springs. All of our gambling history, all just pieces and parts that I've collected over the years. Little drawers, yes.
Oh, and Oak Lawn up there. This is beautiful.
This I call my downtown walk-around box. And it starts here on Bathhouse Row. This is a vintage photo of Bathhouse Row. And it goes around, there's a walking path all the way around the box of downtown restaurants and attractions and whatnot that we have in the downtown area. And of course I had to get crystals on there. This is up on Whittington Avenue. Different things that are there, the Alligator Farm, the tower. This is Mary in her little niche at St. Mary's. And then you keep walking, you come back to Central Avenue, and we've got the Arlington, Mount Valley Water, Maxwell Blade, although he's moved now. It was
You
there,
really have
the pancake shop. And we're back to Bathhouse
And then,
Row.
of course, it's also usable.
Yes, it is. It's a drawer that opens. I wanted to do a downtown something and just show all the businesses and attractions and everything that we have available in downtown Hot Springs. We used to have a plein air exhibit, a paint-off every year, and that fell under my department. So these were pieces that I purchased every year from different artists that came for the plein air paint out. I work back here. And these, my husband set this up for me, which is a great table. It's heavy duty. I've got storage space here. I can work on the top. This table was one that I found here in the cottage, and I just took it over and raised it up a little bit so I could do my work on it. This was a nativity that actually my sister gave to me, and I found this stable at a flea market somewhere, and the colors were complementary. So this is all glass. You can see it's a thick plate glass that I've cut to put back here. I'm going to do all these little tiles and whatnot on the roof here. All the Christmas trees are going to go in the back. I'll have something on the back of it to finish it off on the back so it's not just blank back there. I am a jewelry collector, and I just have boxes of jewelry, as you can see. And I've been making Christmas trees and these little ornaments for Christmas that are covered with jewels. And they're lots of fun to make, and it's a good way to use up all this jewelry that I seem to have lying around. These are all things that I've purchased from friends or have on a vacation or people have given to me. And I now have a place where I can just put up everything that speaks to me and I don't have to share it with anybody or ask permission. It's all mine. I have always loved boxes with drawers, as I've got lots of stuff that I can fill up drawers with. So this little case came from Statements, and then this pretty sideboard out here with all the drawers came from there. And these drop leaf tables, I've just collected these over the years. They're useful.
And where do you get your inspiration from to do your different art?
It comes from pieces of china that I find. It comes from a birdhouse that speaks to me in a certain way. It comes from different jewelry pieces that just ideas pop into my head. Oftentimes I'll write things down so I don't forget them. More times than not, it comes to me in the middle of the night and then it's gone by morning. But it's inspiration is all around, and it just comes very easily and naturally. And I have fun in my space and doing my artwork here. And having people in to look around. I'm sorry we can't do the actual tour this year, but maybe next year. So y'all keep watching, and thanks for coming by.
Hello, welcome to my studio. My name is Don Watson, and this is my studio gallery. I was brought up here in Glenwood, Arkansas, and joined the Navy when I was 19. Kicked the dust of this crummy little town off of my boots and said I was never coming back. And then years later, I came back. I started painting in 2001 after being 2 years sober, and I needed a place to put all that energy, and this is the result. I started using acrylics in the beginning, and I found that faster medium was pastels. I graduated from pastels when I discovered oil paints. I had an artist friend of mine named Ruth Loxo. She come in my studio one day with a whole bag of oils and tossed them on my counter, and so I decided to give them a shot. What I liked about oils is they're very unique as opposed to watercolor and or acrylics. Acrylics tend to dry dark, and watercolor, once they dry lighter. But oil paints, 100 years from now, when I walk away from the easel, it's going to be the same no matter what. So that's why I choose oils. When my father passed away, I was able to go out into the Ouachita National Forest and start working on landscapes, plein air. And I tried at first doing larger works on canvas in plein air, but mosquitoes and bugs and things were flying into the artwork, so I went down to a smaller scale of 9 by 12, and I called them my thumbnail studies. And then I would bring those studies back and make larger paintings here in the studio from my plein air painting. And this is one of the results. It's a Ouachita National Forest, and I try to make them abstract and unique and bright and interesting. I paint things that I find interesting. If you're into American art, come on out and see my extensive collection.
Hi, welcome to Allison Parsons Studio and Gallery. I'm Allison Parsons. Come on in and I'll show you around. I am a painter and I paint the local landmarks, Bathhouse Row and our national park. I love to paint the Oaklawn horses and jockeys and the flora and foliage that grows all around us. This is where I work. I move my studio all around depending on what I paint. Right now I'm painting flowers and foliage, and so those are small paintings, so I work at my table. Sometimes I'll work at my easel, and sometimes when I'm working on huge paintings, I'll hang them from the rafters. Well, I love the horses. I grew up around horses, and I love painting them. These are little original paintings in watercolor and pen and ink. This area are my Christmas balls. I love to decorate the Christmas balls utilizing images of paintings that I've done. And I do that every year, and this year I'm going to introduce a couple of new balls, new subject matter. Well, it's kind of interesting because it's kind of like you go into your zone. And I just go with the flow. It basically tells me where to go and what to do and how to handle the work. And I love this really loose part of the painting that I do in the very beginning. Occasionally, I will put the brakes on it and say, okay, enough, let's go with what we've got. And I've done larger paintings in watercolor and in acrylic. And these are reproductions of those original paintings. They come in prints that are signed, note cards and note card sets. Those are all 8 bathhouses that the original painting was done in acrylic. And I thought, well, I wanted to do all 8 at once. And I tried to figure different angles, but this seemed to be the most fun. The view of the Arlington along Bathhouse Row, right in front of the Maurice Bathhouse with the fountain, the chapel at Garvin Gardens, and those are the favorites. Ever since I was a kid, and I remember my dad taking me downtown for the first time, and I just got so excited, and I loved the architecture, and I would fantasize about the bathhouses and what it was all about. And then years later, when I moved back to Hot Springs, I decided the first thing I was going to do was paint Bathhouse Row. And my paintings became popular and went into production in prints and note cards. And then the National Park invited me to be their first artist in residence. It's very peaceful, and I love the quietness, but sometimes I break it up with a little bit of music. I get lost in it, truly, and I have to set my alarm clock when to leave, or I could stay here all night. Package my things for shipping, sign and package my prints and note cards. I pack and box up and ship paintings to collectors all over the country, and sometimes even local, especially right now during COVID. I paint in watercolor, acrylic, and with gold leaf or silver leaf. And I leaf the paintings after I've toned them, and then I begin my painting process. This painting will dry, and then I'll do some glazing on it and some corrections and start another one. I always try to incorporate a little bit of the silver when I do my gold leaf, or when I do silver leaf, a little bit of the gold. This one's going to be a poinsettia. And then I also work larger in the gold leaf and silver leaf. I also do studies with my colors for painting on the gold and silver leaf. And these studies I cut up, and I call it art by the inch. It makes me anxious when I'm not painting, if I have to take a break, and I can't wait to get back to the easel. My philosophy hasn't really changed. I just like to get involved in my paintings and do the best that I can. I think the most rewarding thing about being an artist is the feeling you get from creating from your heart. I'm never at a loss of what subject matter to paint. I've got so much around me in Hot Springs. Everywhere you look, there's a painting waiting to happen.
Hello, welcome to Baker's Fabrication Welding in Glenwood, Arkansas. I'm John Mark Baker. My wife Nikki and I are owner-operators here. We'd love to take this time to show you around our place and maybe you'd be inspired by some of our work. It's not your ordinary welding shop. We specialize in custom metal work for a variety of applications. Our customers include the general public, contractors, federal, state, county, and city agencies, art collectors, and billion-dollar corporations. My wife and I have combined 45 years of metalworking experience and have been in business 15 years here at Baker's Fab and Welding, with 7 of those years actively pursuing the art world. Our goal is to seize the opportunities God has presented and try to develop the talents He has given. We are blessed people to live and work where we do and can't thank God enough. We have 3 children, a daughter, Jessie, 23, 2 sons, Frank, 20, Luke, 17. They are called upon frequently to help and it becomes a family effort. We have a 40 by 60 shop building with a 25 by 60 covered porch. Our shop is a little welding shop, a little art studio, and a little museum of antiques and oddities. We have a variety of welding and cutting machines and metalworking tools. On 2 sides of the shop is our sculpture garden, which features 40+ metal sculptures that we have built over the last 15 years. It is interesting to notice the progression over that time. Inspiration for a work could come from any area of life, past, present, or future. Some are meant to provoke thought and some are just for fun. They're made from scrap metal, bumpers, and pretty much anything we think we can weld together. Nothing is safe or discarded. Anything could be a piece in a sculpture. We have works for purchase at the Whittington Gallery in Hot Springs, the Town Square Gallery in Murfreesboro, and Kadoha Indian Village in Murfreesboro. We have 5 sculptures on the Greenway Trail in Hot Springs from the corner of Valley and Runyon Street to the Rotary Trailhead. So if you think you'd be inspired by our work or you want to get out and stretch your legs, come see us at 326 Highway 70 East, Glenwood, Arkansas. Have a good day.
Hi, I'm Carol Catchin. I'm an artist. I've lived in Hot Springs for 25 years now. I was an artist for 30 years before I came here, so I've been doing this for a very long time. This is my studio, and I've been using this as a place to teach other artists how to paint. And it's been great fun. It's given me a chance to meet other people and share their vision and their experience, and they have grown, I've grown. It's been a wonderful thing. Lately, with the coronavirus, I closed the studio down for a while, and then we decided to stretch the classes out so that we have 4 or less students in each class, and everyone wears a mask, and it works very nicely. So what I like to do as a teacher is to look for the individual vision that each student has, because I believe that every person has their own way of seeing the world, and that's what you want to capture in the paintings. So I like to help the students figure out what it is that they want to paint, and then help them paint stronger in that way. We work on some basic principles. I talk a lot about capturing shapes, looking at how the light falls, figuring out where to put the different colors in order to create a sense of three-dimensional depth. But all of this is put into the process of them learning how to express what they want to paint.
I've been with Carol's class for 8 years now, and I've found that besides the beautiful studio with the wonderful natural light, it's the group dynamic and the gentle and constructive criticism that helps my own work advance and get better.
I started painting about 2 years ago. My neighbor got me into it and encouraged me to come. I do like being here. It is so relaxing. I can throw myself into the painting and forget the world is around me. And I enjoy seeing the others paint because I learn a lot from that.
I ask the students to decide what medium they want to work in. So most of them either work in oil or acrylic. Sometimes we have someone working in pastel. Very rarely watercolor. That's a real different kind of way of painting. But they bring their own materials, and I help them figure out how to apply the paint to the canvas in order to achieve the effect that they want. In my own paintings, I've been experimenting a lot with collage lately. A friend of mine gave me several bags full of fabric scraps, and I found that there were all these wonderful textures in there. So I've been cutting up the texture, applying it to canvas, and then using that as the basis for all sorts of paintings. I've done everything from a deer in the backyard to ballerinas to people standing around talking and drinking. And it's been quite a challenge to figure out how to focus on texture first and then bring in the color and the line afterwards. I hope this inspires you to be more creative in your own life, and please come visit the studio sometime. We always love to see new people. Even if you don't want to paint, just come and say hello.